It's the week leading up to 3.7, and today I'm here with the full updated guide on Castorice. In this video, I'm taking you over everything you do need to know in order to understand her, including her eidolons and kit, best Lightcones, best relic sets, best ornaments, the relic sets for main set and subsets you want to aim for, and finally some team building ideas. I want to apologize in advance just in case I do end up sounding dead in some points of this video. I currently have a headache as I'm recording this, so I'm trying to power through it. And I also plan on having a full guide on every single new or returning character in the 3.7 update. I have one for Cyrene and Hyacinth. You are now watching Castorice. Soon there will be one for Tribi, Finon, Cypher, and Mide. With that being said, let's hop straight in. Castorice is a Quantum Remembrance character whose basic attack deals quantum damage based off her max HP to a designated enemy. Her skill first consumes 30% of all allies' current HP, then will deal quantum damage equal to 50% of her max HP to one designated enemy, and then quantum damage equal to 30% of her max HP to adjacent targets. If Remember Sprite Netherwing is on the battlefield, the skill becomes Boneclaw Doomdrake's Embrace instead. Her ultimate will summon Netherwing and advance its action by 100%. At the same time, it will deploy the territory Lost Netherland, which will decrease enemies' all-type res by 20%. If Castorice has the damage boost effect from her talent, the effect will spread to Netherwing as well. Netherwing has an initial speed of 165 and a set max HP equal to 100% of max Newbud. After Netherwing experiences 3 turns or when its HP is 0, it will disappear and dispel the territory. For talent, the maximum limit of Newbud is related to the levels of all characters on the battlefield. For every 1 point of HP lost by allies, Castorice will gain a point of Newbud. When Newbud reaches its limit, can activate ultimate. When allies lose HP, Castorice and Netherwing's damage dealt increases by 20%, that stacks up to 3 times and lasts for 3 turns. When Netherwing is on the field, Newbud cannot be gained through her talent, and every point of HP lost by all allies except Netherwing will instead be converted to an equal amount of HP for Netherwing. Pretty much if you are having Netherwing on the field, let's say your Netherwing is at 50% HP and you consume HP by using something like Castorice's skill, instead of giving you Newbud to charge for a next ultimate, it will recover HP for Netherwing instead. Her enhanced skill, which is the one that was said to be what it will be if the Netherwing is out. So anytime you have Netherwing out, it will be this Boneclaw AoE skill, which will consume 40% of current HP of all allies except Netherwing. Castorice and Netherwing launch a joint attack on targets, dealing quantum damage equal to 30% and 50% of Castorice's max HP to all enemies. For technique, after using technique, enters the Nether Veil state, which will last for 20 seconds. While Nether Veil is active, enemies are unable to actively approach Castorice. During Nether Veil, active attacks will cause all enemies within range to enter combat, and at the same time will summon the Remember Sprite Netherwing, advance its action by 100%, and deploys the territory Lost Netherlands. Netherwing has its current HP equal to 50% of max Newbud. After entering battle, consumes 40% of the current HP of all allies except Netherwing. If Netherwing is not summoned after entering battle, Castorice gains Newbud by an amount equal to 30% of max Newbud. And something unique to Castorice, her exclusive support thing called the Sanctuary of Moon Cocoon, which is also known as a global passive. After you do obtain Castorice or when she is in the current team, you will receive the following effect in battle. When an allied character receives a killing blow, all allied characters that receive a killing blow in that specific action will enter the Moon Cocoon state. The Moon Cocoon state will temporarily delay the character being downed, and they can take actions normally. After the action and before the start of the next turn, if their HP increases by getting healing or by any means, or they gain a shield from a sustain, Moon Cocoon is removed, otherwise they will be immediately downed and can only trigger once per battle. So as it says, if you pull Castorice, you can quite literally leave her level 1 on your account and you will have this active in any form of content. When it does proc, let's say you have 2 characters on your team that go down in the same hit, both of them will revive through the Castorice global passive, and they will be able to act normally. Once they act, if they don't get any healing or a shield before the next time they act, they will go down permanently and it will just be like you messed up. But if they receive healing or a shield, they will recover the amount of HP, Moon Cocoon is removed as it says, and you are able to continue the fight with them. Now for the Remember Sprite skills. So the Remember Sprite skill, that's an AoE, kind of like a swipe that the Remember Sprite does have, deals quantum damage equal to 40% of Castorice's max HP to all enemies. And then the main thing, the actual breaths that you are firing. Launching Breath Scorches the Shadow will consume 25% of Netherwing's max HP to deal quantum damage equal to 24% of Castorice's max HP to all enemies. In one attack, you could repeatedly fire Breath Scorches the Shadow. The damage multiplier increases progressively to 28%/34%. After you reach 34%, it will not be increased further. The damage multiplier boost effect will not decrease before Netherwing disappears. When Netherwing's current HP is equal to or less than 25% of its max HP, launching this ability will actively reduce HP down to 1 and then trigger the ability effect equal to that of the talent Wing Sweeps the Runes. And what Wing Sweep the Runes is when Netherwing disappears, deals 6 instances of damage, with each instance dealing quantum damage equal to 40% of Castorice's max HP to one enemy. At the same time, restores HP by an amount equal to 6% of Castorice's max HP plus 800 for all allies. The Memo Sprite talent is when Netherwing is on the field, it will act as a backup for allies. When allies take damage or consume HP, their current HP can be reduced down to a minimum of 1, after which Netherwing will bear the HP loss. But Netherwing consumes HP equal to 500% of the original value that will last until Netherwing disappears. The unique support that the Netherwing does have is when Netherwing is summoned, increases damage dealt by all allies by 10% for 3 turns. For her bonus traces, her A2, after ally targets excluding Netherwing receive healing, converts 100% of the healed amount into Newbud. If Netherwing is on the field, this is converted to Netherwing's HP instead. Each ally target can accumulate a conversion amount up to 12% of max Newbud. After any unit takes action, all units reset their accumulated conversion amount. Her A4, when Castorice's current HP is equal to or higher than 50% of her max HP, she will gain a 40% increase to speed. When Netherwing uses Breath Scorches the Shadow and deals fatal damage to all enemies on the field or brings them to a point where their HP cannot be reduced further, Netherwing's speed increases by 100% for 1 turn. And her A6, each time Netherwing uses Breath Scorches the Shadow, the damage dealt increases by 30%, that stacks up to 6 times and lasts until the end of the turn. For her Eidolons, her E1, when the enemy target's current HP is 80%/50% of max HP or lower, the damage dealt to it by Boneclaw, Doomsdrake Embrace, Claw Splits the Veil, Breath Scorches the Shadow, and Wing Sweep the Runes is 120%/140% of the original damage respectively. For E2, after summoning the Memo Sprite Netherwing, Castorice gains 2 stacks of Ardent Will. Ardent Will can stack up to 2 times, and can be used to offset the HP cost of Netherwing's Memo Sprite skill, Breath Scorches the Shadow, and advance Castorice's action by 100%. When using the next enhanced skill, Castorice gains Newbud by an amount equal to 30% of max Newbud. For E4, while Castorice is on the field, all allies' HP restored when receiving healing increases by 20%. And our E6, when Castorice or Netherwing deals damage, increases Quantum Res Pen by 20%. During Netherwing's attacks, can reduce toughness regardless of the weakness type. When breaking weakness triggers the Quantum Weakness Break effect, and the number of bounces for Netherwing's talent Wing Sweeps the Runes additionally increases by 3. For Lightcones, her best in slot is obviously her own signature Lightcone, which does provide the wearer a max HP increase of 30%. When the wearer or their Memo Sprite loses HP during their own turn, the wearer gains Death Flower. Death Flower allows the wearer and their Memo Sprite to ignore 30% of the target's defense when dealing damage for 2 turns, and when the wearer's Memo Sprite disappears, advances the wearer's action by 12%, and the effect can only trigger 1 time, and the trigger count will reset every time the wearer uses their ultimate. So Castorice is a HP scaling character, so a 30% increase to max HP plus the high base HP this Lightcone does have as opposed to other options is really good. So you combine that together, plus the fact you are building HP onto Castorice herself, you are going to get a lot of HP out of this Lightcone, which is going to be great for her damage. To top it all off, it also provides a 30% defense ignore for both Castorice and Netherwing, which is going to be a good damage increase, and this can of course further amplify depending on the team you're running. If you're running more sources of defense ignore, or someone on your team might be shredding. But even at base, a 30% defense ignore is going to be really good for Castorice's damage, and since you are recycling Netherwing as that is her whole playstyle, you are very frequently going to see the 12% action advance, as you need to summon Memo Sprite by using your ultimate anyway, so every time you use it, you're going to reset it, you blow up the dragon, boom, you get the effect, rinse and repeat. And so the help with this Lightcone is going to let your Castorice act even quicker, to get your skill off quicker, more HP drain, more ultimates, more benefit. That is why this is her far and none best option still. Another Lightcone that works really good on her is actually Everknight's signature Lightcone, which has the same 30% increase to the wearer's max HP. When the wearer's Memo Sprite uses an ability, the wearer gains Noctis. While the wearer has Noctis, the damage dealt by all allied Memo Sprites ignores 20% of the target's defense, increases the damage dealt by the wearer and the Memo Sprite by 30%, and when the wearer's Memo Sprite disappears, the wearer can regenerate 8 energy, effects of the same type cannot stack. So as I mentioned, 30% increase to max HP and also a good HP increase for base HP. It's not as good as their signature, of course, but still is enough to be good. You also get 20% defense ignore for Netherwing specifically, and also every Memo Sprite on your team. So any Memo Sprites on your team would be able to get defense ignore. So it's some form of supportive capabilities as well. You also get a free 30% increase to damage for both Castorice and also Netherwing. Unfortunately, the last part is useless as she doesn't use traditional energy, so you can ignore this part. But everything else is useful. Again, max HP is great for her damage, defense ignore is great for both Netherwing and also anyone else on the team with Memo Sprites, and a free 30% increase to damage dealt for both Castorice and Netherwing, which is why she's actually able to utilize this Lightcone very well. Another option is the Battle Pass Lightcone, the Flower Remembers, which will increase the wearer's crit damage by 24%, and the crit damage dealt by the wearer's Memo Sprite increases by 24%, and at S5, it's a 40% increase to crit damage for the wearer, and a 48% increase to crit damage for the Memo Sprite. Not much to say right here, it's just going to make you do more damage anytime you do crit for Castorice and also Netherwing, as Castorice gets 40% crit damage anytime she crits, and Netherwing will get a 48% increase to crit damage. So anytime you are critting, you are going to do more damage. It is a usable option for that reason. Another usable option on her is Sweat Now, Cry Less, which provides 12% increase to crit rate, and when the wearer's Memo Sprite is on the field, increases damage by the wearer and their Memo Sprite by 24%. And at S5, it is 20% crit rate with a 36% increase to damage dealt. Crit rate might be a bit easy to cap on with Castorice because she does have crit rate traces, plus the base 5% crit rate. And her best in slot does provide over 30% crit rate, so it can be a bit easy to overcap, so definitely account for this. And for the damage dealt, it will mainly be active when it matters. When you summon Netherwing, Netherwing is going to do the biggest damage that Castorice can deal, so it will get that 36% increase to damage dealt. Castorice, when she uses her enhanced skill when Netherwing is out, will also get that benefit. But if Netherwing is not on the field, which might be 1 or 2 skills at times in a battle, you won't get the 36% damage dealt. But that doesn't mean it's an unusable option, it's still a usable option that works quite well. Now, if you have no other option, the next best thing you can do is to run a Lightcone that has the highest base HP. This would mean taking a 5-star Lightcone that is off path, so one that will not be providing you an effect, and using it because it has a high base HP. The way you can find your highest base HP Lightcone is going to your Castorice or whoever, clicking switch here, filtering down here. As you see, it's filtered as attack, so I'm going to change that, and it's going to be right here for HP. Select HP. You'll see the Remembrance ones first, of course, and then after Remembrance ends, which is right here, you would see the ones filtered for highest HP. The most common one people will use is Bylose, as it's not a signature option and many people actually have this Lightcone as opposed to some of these that are not going to be in use. So just use whatever option is available to you that has the highest base HP out of your available options. For relic sets, her best in slot is still 4-piece Poet. 2-piece provides 10% quantum damage, and the 4-piece will decrease the wearer's speed by 8% before entering battle if the wearer's speed is lower than 110/95, increases the wearer's crit rate by 20%/32%, and also applies to the wearer's Memo Sprite. 10% quantum damage is going to be good for overall damage, so any form of damage from Castorice or Netherwing will get an increase. The decrease of 8% speed is going to help you reach that below 95 threshold to get the full 32% increase to crit rate. This is going to help you get to as close as 100% as possible, as that is the goal, since with Netherwing you're hitting a lot of times. So having 100% crit rate is going to be very, very important, and this relic set does just that to help you. You also don't really build Castorice with any speed anyways, so you are able to fully utilize this set. This also allows you to allocate a lot more sets in the HP and crit damage for more overall damage as well, which is why it is overall her best in slots still. Unfortunately, she still doesn't really have any other options to use, so you would combine 2-piece. You could do 2-piece of one of the quantum increasing sets, so Poet and also Genius set, and combine that with 2-piece of one of the crit sets, so Scholar for 8% crit rate, same with World We're Making Deliverer, both of them provide 8% crit rate, or one of those and 2-piece Wave Strider, which provides 16% crit damage. So you can do 2-piece crit rate and 2-piece crit damage, or 2-piece of one of the crit ones and 2-piece of one of the quantum ones. For relic sets, you still really only want to use the Bone set, which provides a 12% increase to max HP. When the wearer's max HP is 5,000 or higher, increases the wearers and their Memo Sprites crit damage by 28%. So 12% max HP increase is going to be good, and it's a free 28% increase to crit damage for Castorice and her Memo Sprite, as 5,000 or higher HP is not going to be a problem whatsoever. So just a good increase to damage overall, and is one you practically will have up permanently. You can use the Arcadia set, which when the number of allied targets on the field is not equal to 4, for every 1 additional / missing allied target, increases the damage dealt by the wearer and their Memo Sprite by 9% / 12%, stacking up to 4 / 3 times. In this case, you would have Memo Sprites on the team, and you'd have a more Memo Sprite-like team, so people on the field would be the way you stack it. Something you do want to note, though, is running Castorice. Of course, she detonates her actual Netherwing very frequently, so there might be times you are not having that actually up. And one of her best teams being with Evernight also detonates her Memo Sprites, so with her best team, you might have issues with uptime on this ornament, which makes Bone Set overall better. Even when this is fully up, Bone Set is still better, but in cases, you still can very much use it. For the main stats on the relics, for the body, you want to run crit damage. For the feet, you want HP percent. For the orb, you can run HP percent or quantum damage. HP percent is better, but if you have a really good quantum damage orb, you can use it. But again, overall, HP percent is better. And for the link rope, you want HP percent. For the substats, it's really just focusing on having crit rate, crit damage, and HP percent. The only specific requirement you want to have is to get crit rate as close as to 100% as possible. And also ensure your speed is lower than 95, because if you have over 95 speed, you are not going to get the full effect of Poet, which is going to be bad. So focus on crit rate, get it to as close as 100% as possible, because it is going to be important to crit all your hits on Castorice. For crit damage, aiming around 200% is going to be really good. And for HP, getting it around 7,000 to 8,000 is going to be really good as well. If you can get it even higher than 8,000, like 8,500 or even 9,000, that's going to be really, really good. So again, get crit rate to as close as 100% as possible. For crit damage, getting it around 200% is going to be really good. And then for HP percent, getting it around 7,000 to 8,000 or higher is going to be good. Once again, be sure to not go over 95 speed or you will not get the full set of Poet. Now for team building ideas. Of course, your slot is going to be filled with Castorice here. The next thought for the best team, we're going to start off with that, is going to be Evernight. Evernight is absolutely broken on this team, and you want to have her, and she is a part of Castorice's best team now, as she functions as a sub DPS, or even main DPS if you want. The third slot is going to go to an AoE buffer, usually in this case because you have 2 people doing damage, so Tribby works best here. AoE buffers, once again, have more value when it comes to having more DPSs on the field rather than just one. You can obviously sub out Tribby for RMC here and buff one or the other here. In this case, it would mainly be Castorice. But again, AoE buffers just have better value. And the last thought would be Hyacine, but I do not actually own Hyacine, so in my case, I'm just going to put a healer. I'll just put Linktra here as an example. So the team would look something like this. The best Castorice team is Castorice, Evernight, Tribby, and then Hyacine. And of course, you would sub out accordingly. If you don't have Tribby, you can use someone like Ruan Mei. If you want the solo buff Castorice, you can use RMC as well. For sustains, if you don't have Linktra like I'm putting here and you don't have Hyacine, you can very much use someone like Luotra. Luotra can work on this team. If you don't have Evernight, you can sub out Evernight for another buffer. In this case, let's say you have Tribby, Hyacine, Castorice, but you don't have Evernight. In that case, you could just throw an RMC instead and have a team like this. You can also run double AoE buffers if you really need, like if you have Tribby and also like Ruan Mei, so you can run something like this. It's not going to do as good, but it still does work. And that is the full Castorice guide. I do hope you found this video helpful. If you did, dropping a like would be greatly appreciated. If you're new to the channel or haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe and turn on the button for future videos like this along with all other types of style content. And I'll see you later. Peace out.